Good morning, children. Sairam. So, we are back with the eighth chapter of political science confronting marginalization. Children, in the last class of this chapter, we were discussing about the marginalized section and the laws for the marginalized. Children, what do you think about the initiatives that government takes for the weaker sect of the society? Do you really think that these people are given due and prompt respect in the society? Let's go and have a glance from the NCERT textbooks. So, let's read first from the NCERT textbooks. So, children, we know that the government makes law to protect its citizens. We, the citizens, are protected by the laws made by the government. But the question was, what about the weaker sect or the weaker society? Or you can say the backward sections of the society which are not given due respect. Now, first point in this is promoting social justice. Now, what is social justice? As a part of their effort to implement the constitution, both state and central governments create specific schemes. This I've already discussed with you that what are the schemes. For example, the government provides for free or subsidized hostels for students of Dalit and Adivasi communities so that they can avail education facilities. They do not lack in studies, they do not lack interest, or they do not think that they are neglected by the government or the people of its country. In addition to that, providing certain facilities, the government also operates through laws to ensure the concrete steps are taken to end inequity. To end, I repeat, inequity means inequality in the system. Now, one such law, what is one such law? One such law policy is the reservation of policy, or you can say it is the significant way of reserving seats for these people. What happens in it? Now, let's see. The laws which reserve seats in education and government employment for Dalits and Adivasis are based on an important argument that in a society like ours, where for centuries sections of population have been denied opportunities to learn and to work in order to develop new skills or vocations. What has happened, children? That the reservation policy has actually created an equality system. It was developed with the, you can say, motive of equality. Now, what has happened, and first of all, how does it works? How does the reservation policy works? Government across India have their own list of scheduled castes or Dalits, scheduled tribes, and backward and most backward castes. The central government too has its list. Students applying to educational institutions and those applying for posts in government are expected to furnish proof of their caste or tribal status in the form of caste and tribe certificates. Many of them, they also ask for candidates to mention their caste or tribe status. If a particular Dalit or caste or a person of a certain tribe is on the government list, then the candidate from the caste or tribe can avail the benefit of reservation. Now, for admission to colleges, especially to institutes of professional education such as medical colleges, governments define a set of cutoff marks. This means that not all Dalit and tribal candidates can qualify for admission, but only those who have done reasonably well and secured marks above the cutoff point. Government also offers special scholarship for these students. And first point that reflects this? Let's discover. Protecting the rights of Dalits and Adivasis. We read about how the reservation policy works, but these reservation policies actually go ahead with the proof of a person or a candidate that whether he is actually a scheduled caste or a tribe, or otherwise it does not applies, it is not applicable. And now how will one prove that the person who has come with a certain certificate that he or she belongs to SC/ST clan or to the OBC category? They need full proofing and documentation needs is carried on, and they have to submit their original papers by which they can seek admission or access to these facilities. Now, protecting the rights of Dalits and Adivasis. In addition to our to policies, our country has also has specific laws that guard against the discrimination and exploitation of marginalized communities. Let us read the following case study adapted from a real life account to understand how Dalits use the protection that laws provide. The villagers of Jakmalgad Jakmalgad are gearing up for a big festival. Once in 5 years, the local deity means God, is honored, and priests from 20 neighboring villages come for this 5 day event. The ceremony begins with a member of the Dalit community washing the feet of all the priests and then bathing in the water used for this. In Jakmalgad, the the person who performed this task belonged to Ratnam's family. His father and grandfather had both performed the same task before him. Though they were never allowed to enter the temple, this ritual was viewed as a great honor bestowed on them on the special occasion. Now it was Ratnam's turn. Ratnam was all of 20 years studying engineering in a nearby college. He refused to perform the ritual. Now, why? He said that he had no faith in this practice and that his family members were forced to perform this ritual because they were Dalits. Ratnam's refusal angered both the powerful castes in the village and some families from his own community. The powerful castes were shocked that such a young boy had the guts to refuse. They believed that it was Ratnam's education which allowed him to imagine that he could start comparing himself with them. Those from Ratnam's own caste were fearful of angering the powerful. Many worked on their fields as daily wage laborers. If dominant castes decided to not call them, then what would they earn? How would they survive? They also declared that the wrath of the local deity would strike them if they refused to give in. Ratnam argued that given that not a single Dalit had ever entered the temple, how could the deity be angry with them? The powerful castes decided to teach Ratnam a lesson. His community was ordered to ostracize him and his family, and everyone was told that no one should speak or do any work for them or with them. One night, some men entered their part of the village and set his hut on fire. He managed to escape with his mother. Ratnam then went to file a case in the local police station under the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes, that is Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. Other Dalit families still did not come out in his support as they were scared that a similar fate might await them if they spoke up. The case was picked up by the local media that led to many journalists visiting the village. Ratnam was written about a symbol of Dalit action. The ritual was called off, but his family was forced to move out as they continued to be ostracized by the powerful caste in the village. Now, this is the plight of any person who used to belong to SC/ST category. Now, What happened if speaking truth or seeking right legalized actions are taken against the wrong? Now, what is the actual conclusion? The Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. Ratna sought the support of law, filing his complaint under the above act to protest against the domination and violence of the powerful caste in his village. This act was framed in 1989 in response to demands made by Dalits and others that the government must take seriously the ill treatment and humiliation Dalits and tribal groups face in an everyday sense. While such a treatment had persisted for a long time, it had acquired a violent character in the late 1970s and 1980s. During this period, in parts of southern India, a number of assertive Dalit groups came into being and asserted their rights. They refused to perform their so called hypocritic caste duties and insisted on being treated equally. Like Ratnam, they refused to follow such practices that located in humiliation of and exploitation of Dalits. This resulted in the more powerful castes unleashing violence against them. In order to indicate to government that untouchability was still being practiced, and in the most hideous manner, Dalit groups demanded new laws that would list the various sorts of violence against Dalits and prescribe stringent punishment, that is, severe and strict punishment for those who indulge in them. Now, likewise, throughout the 1970s and 80s, Adivasi people successfully organized themselves and demanded equal rights and for their land and resources to be returned to them. They too had to face the anger of powerful social groups and were subject to great deal of violence. So, children, this was the actual way in which. So, children, this was the plight of Ratnam and many other Ratnams, the people who belong to the Dalit group, who suffered the atrocities given to them, gifted to them by the dominant or the powerful caste. But once a person is educated, when he or she knows their value, the worth of their life, then it is their duty and responsibility to reject any kind of indiscrimination done on them. Now, what is this act that distinguishes several levels of crimes? Let us go ahead with this, okay, about the Atrocities Act. Firstly, it lists modes of humiliation that are both physically horrific and morally reprehensible and seeks to punish those who force a member of SC or ST to drink or eat any inedible or obnoxious substance, forcibly removes clothes from the person of a member of SC or ST, or parades him or her naked, or on her his or her naked or with painted face or body, or commits any similar act which is derogatory to human dignity, that is, which is really inconsiderable. Secondly, it lists the actions that disposes Dalits and Adivasis of their meager resources or which force them into performing slave labor. Thus, the Act sets out to punish anyone who wrongfully occupies or cultivates any land owned by or allotted to a member of SC or ST, or gets the land allotted to him transferred. At another level, the Act recognizes that crimes against Dalit and tribal women are of a specific kind and therefore seek to penalize anyone who assaults or uses force on any woman belonging to SC or ST with intent to dishonor. So, children, we'll be back with the another chapter. Thank you, Saram, and have a great day ahead.